I'm an online ESL teacher, and I've had some people message and ask questions and figure out they want to know how to do it, what it is, and that kind of thing. So I thought I'd make a video just to make it easier for everybody. So online ESL teaching is exactly what it sounds like. I am teaching children from about the age of 5 to 16 how to speak the English language. And that looks a little bit differently for every company, but I'm going to be mostly talking about what it is from Magic Ears. So for most ESL companies, you'll download their software and their platform, and you'll interact with the students, particularly Chinese students, on their cameras and their microphones, and practice that way. For Magic Ears, their platform is specific to having, you can write, you can do trophies in the platform itself for rewards, and you can also play games with the students, and it's a lot of fun. And they like to have 25-minute classes with up to 4 students at a time in one class. So the reason that they do that is because students learn a lot better from each other. So while one student might be better at pronunciation, another student is probably better at writing or grammar or what have you. So even though they're all at about the same level of capability in English, they might be more or less suited to a different part of English. So they can all learn from each other that way. It's a lot of fun, and it sounds pretty intimidating. I came from a company that did one-to-one predominantly, and even though that was, it was nice in its own way, you can kind of track the students' progress better, but Magic Ears, it's a lot more fun with a lot more students, and you don't really see the same student over and over again, which can sometimes get a little bit daunting to have to keep the class interesting if you've been with the same student for a long period of time. So with Magic Ears, they're pre-made lessons. They're very short and specific to what they want. They will have about 30 slides per each lesson, and you have to finish all 30 slides within the 25 minutes. And that doesn't sound... It sounds a little scary, but it's not too bad. You get used to pacing yourself, and depending on how many students you have, you can either, you can know to stick very to the script that they give you, or you can extend the lesson if you have a lot of time. And it's a lot of fun to really be able to have conversations with the students whenever they reach that capability. You can also play games like drawing and stuff like that, and really allow yourself to kind of create the classroom that you want to have. After the class is over, you have things like feedback. For each student, you will rate them, like how they did, and you can really focus on the things that they did well. And then you can also give them feedback on words specifically that they need to practice on, as well as just in general stuff that they might have some difficulty with. So maybe sometimes you'll see a student who doesn't really like to pay fully attention, right? That's pretty much the main battle of being a teacher. They might, be drawing somewhere else, or they want to text on their phone or whatever. You might say, I would like for you to pay more attention, or, something along those lines to kind of make them aware of it without being mean. It doesn't happen that often, though, but you can give the feedback individually for every single student, and they can give you feedback. For every teacher that they take a class with, they can rate them 1 out of 5 stars, depending on how well they did. And not everyone gives feedback, so if you don't get any stars, it's nothing personal. Sometimes you just don't. If we go out to eat at a restaurant, we don't always leave a rating for them, right? It's less often that we do leave a review. But if we do leave a review, we're going to be honest, right? You can't please everyone, but you will be well-rounded to every student. So the idea is that you're going to be working from home, right? Working online for Magic Ears. You get to sit in the classroom that you create to your comfort in your PJs with an appropriate shirt on, and you get to sit down and talk to kids and just have fun. I mean, it doesn't really get better than that. But the best thing about Magic Ears is that they do a lot of morale building for their teachers. So they do things like the Bonnie Hop challenge that they have recently announced. You go bouncing in public places, and every time you upload a YouTube video and let them know about it, they donate a certain amount of money to a fundraiser for children. There's also another thing that's going around. They want you to the teachers to submit a video of the kids with a Magic Ear shirt on, and they're going to feature it in their video or a post. They like to give a lot of recognition to the teachers and their families. They also go to schools, to public schools in America, and they just spend some time with the children, getting to know them and talking and interacting with them. And no other company really does that other than Magic Ears. As also for the t-shirts, if you want a t-shirt, there is a link below where you can get one. And if you happen to teach with Magic Ears, then they will reimburse you for up to 15 something, like 1540 something or something like that. So you can get a discount on a shirt. So the requirements for working for Magic Ears is you have to be a native speaker of the USA and or Canada. You have to be either pursuing a bachelor's degree, have one already, or have an associate's in education. You need a 120-hour TEFL certificate, which they're really cheap and easy to get for the most part. There's some ones on Groupon that are easily available, but if you want something more in depth, of course, you can find ones that last months or, however long you would like to pursue that. Something that is definitely needed, though, you have to have good lighting and good background and a good headset. That way you're clear in the microphone. The children can see you very well. You don't want a dark classroom. And you want the background to be very clean and professional, but fun for kids to look at. So some background ideas, you could have like a map, like a world map or something, or you can have the alphabet, some borders. As long as it looks tidy, it's not too cluttered or anything, you pretty much have as much freedom as you want with that. For good lighting, a really common, popular lighting is to have the 5-arm umbrella, and you use daylight bulbs in them. Daylight bulbs are the best thing for online ESL teachers whenever you're focusing on your lighting, and you can find them at Walmart. They're usually not too expensive, and it'll say it on the box if you're not sure where to find it. Your computer will need to have general tech requirements, and that's kind of a lot to put into the video, but I'll put it down in the description below. And if you're not sure if your computer qualifies or not, meets the requirements, then you can take a picture of your specs and put it on the Q&A page, and the people from there can give you feedback on whether or not it qualifies, because there's a bunch of tech nerds there, and they're all really happy to help. So for what are we going to get paid, right? Generally, everyone starts out at either a $9 base pay or $10 base pay. A $9 base pay is for meeting the most basic requirements, and you get, sorry, my cat was running up and down the hall. I didn't know what that was. So you start off with $9 per class. So you open your slots in 30-minute increments at whatever times you want on whatever days you want. There's no minimum, no maximum, nothing like that. You just have whatever schedule you want is what you can create for yourself. So in 30-minute increments, you get paid $9 per that class. Plus, if you qualify for the bonuses, you can get more. So the first $1 bonus is if you get to class into the first class of the day 8 to 10 minutes early, then that $1 bonus will apply to all the other classes for that day. So you could potentially make $10 for that one 30-minute class. Then for the other class, you can open 60 peak slots per month, and the peak is defined. If you're not used to ESL teaching, the peak can be defined by some of the groups and myself if you have questions about that. If you can open 60 peak slots per month, then you qualify for that extra $1. So now we've come to $11 for 30 minutes of teaching time. So if you get a full hour of teaching time in, that is $22 an hour. before, sitting and playing and having fun in your PJs, right? That's pretty fun. So if you meet the requirements for the $10 base pay starting out, you need to have a bachelor's or a master's degree in education, the 120-hour TOEFL certificate, and 5 years teaching experience in education. So if you qualify for that and you start at the $10 base pay, then you can also get the other $2 bonus. So you would be at $12 per 30 minutes or $24 an hour for having fun. So the hiring process, if you're interested, that will first involve you setting up a demo. So you can either do a live or a recorded one. And the live one, you'll be with another mentor, a teacher with Magic Ears that helps you in the hiring process. They'll pretend to be a student with you, and they will make it as non-awkward as possible. They want you to be comfortable and have fun. And it's actually you get to be silly with them, and it kind of breaks the ice, actually. If you want to do the live one, you can, but you can also do the recorded one. And I chose to do the recorded one because I like to be able to practice it a million times and then send in my favorite submission. So I did it that way, but you don't have to. And the demo is basically 8 to 10 minutes of you just teaching one of their lessons as realistically as you could with the scenario given. They just want a snippet of what your teaching personality is like, and they want to hear you speak. Are you speaking clearly and concisely and at a good speed? Are you, what kind of teacher are you? That's what they're looking for. So if you pass the demo, then you'll go to the training. There's 2 different training classes, the 1 versus 4 and the 1 versus 1. The 1 versus 4 is just for you and other teachers to get familiar with what it's like to teach. So they'll give you the teaching manual, and they'll help you give feedback on your lighting and your background and that sort of thing. So you want to, whenever you do this, you want to be already set up to go as if you were teaching in a real class. After you do the 1 versus 4, they set you up for the 1 versus 1, where you actually have to do the full lesson. And it's not so much focused on timing, but it's good to start practicing here on timing. So you'll kind of just go through the whole lesson. You'll want a bunch of props ready, and we'll go back to the props in a second in case you haven't done ESL online teaching before. After you do the 1 versus 1 with a teacher, then you will either pass or not, and then you'll get to reapply in 3 months. But if you pass, you get to go to the trial class, where you will be in a real class with real students, and it can be any number of students, 1, 2, 3, 4, at any age range that they give you. Usually it's the lowest level, which is about 5 years old, so they're very beginner. So you'll want to focus on teaching to young learners at that point. But it's not that bad, and it's a little nerve-wracking because it's your first time, but you have to, start paying attention to your timing, but they're usually very gracious. If you go over too much, then they won't. 25 minutes is the cutoff, but 28, you have 3-minute window, 25 to 28 minutes to actually finish up. So they're pretty gracious about that time period. If you go over, if you need a little extra help, they might have you do another trial class if they see that you have potential, but you just need to work on a few things. If you pass the trial class, and you don't have to do feedback or anything at that point, if you pass the trial class, they give you the contract where you sign it and return it, and then they want the proof. So they want your diploma, if you have it, or your official transcript if you're still going through school. They'll want a license, which is totally common for them to ask for, and they will want your certificate, your TOEFL certificate proof. After that is all done and approved, they'll want the background check, and that takes around 3 to 5 business days. Usually a little bit faster, but it can take about 3 business days. And then after that goes through, you get to start teaching. So that's all the fun of what it is like to go through the hiring process. And it can take about a week to a week and a half, depending on how active you want to be in the hiring process. So some prep ideas, if you haven't taught online ESL before, the main go-tos always: Blackboard, flashcards, alphabet, animals, stuffed animals, and fake food. Those are always necessary for me. I have about five marker boards floating around at all times because I like to use them a lot. And if you're teaching multiple classes, it's nice to not have to go in between classes and try to remake up the props that you might be using. You have to use 2 props per class that you teach with Magic Ears, and those can be non-props. So say, for example, if you're like, is this sad? No, that's not sad. That would count as a prop, even though it's not exactly what you're teaching, if that makes sense. As long as it pertains to the lesson, then it's okay to use it as a prop. So some other things that I have like some examples of colors, different colors that I like to use. I have some magnet letters. I really like to use the magnet letters because these are easy to show blending techniques with. So say you're teaching D, like just D. You can put it separately, but then if you want to teach them, like if you're learning different letters, if you want to teach them DOF, you could teach D, DOF, and then if you wanted to like move it around and kind of play with it, you could go D, FOD, to teach them some blending capabilities. It's really helpful. I think this is the prop that I use the most out of all of them, along with my marker boards. Some flashcards that I like to use, especially when teaching. It's mostly when teaching letters when I use them. I like to teach the big A, little a. So that's what I use these cards for. I don't really use them for anything else. If you want to do something silly, stickers are a really good versatile way to have fun and have them kind of, there's a lot of variety in stickers, and they're really accessible and they're cheap. They're very user friendly, so to speak. Fake food is one that I always end up needing. I have a whole basket full of just stuff, you can pretend to eat. They like to have fun with it. And stuffed animals are very important because if you have a shy student, they might only talk to the unicorn. That might be the only thing that they want to talk to, the only thing that will get them to talk. So you can either use this to loosen, break the ice, or you can use them for role playing. So like, hi, how are you? I'm great, thanks. How are you? I'm great too, thank you. You can get them to interact with each other, and then whenever you need the students to react to, you can get them to kind of go off of that. So those are just some general props that I think are helpful to have for every class, and that's everything. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to message me or look at the description below. I'll have some links to the Q&A page for the Magic Ears group on Facebook. And there's also going to be my referral link. If you decide to apply and you want to use my link, then I can be there with you through every process. I'll help you figure everything out, make you feel comfortable. If you want to use me to practice on before you do the official demo or whatever it is, we can get on Skype and do that. We can really get some good practice in. So that's there for you if you would like it. And there's also going to be a link for the Groupon, the TEFL certificate. It's the bare minimum 120-hour one, and I think it's $25. And there are other ones. Just make sure that it's at least 120 hours. If you decide to get a different one that might be cheaper or from a different website, just as long as it meets that 120 hours requirement, then it should be fine. And then below that will be a place to get the Magic Ears t-shirt if you decide that you want to do that. And yeah, like I said, if you need anything, definitely just ask. Bye.